Hello my dear sewing friends, it's Elisa here with Thoughtful Creativity, and today we actually have a very special video, so thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for tuning in. So first of all, I made a free sewing pattern particularly for this reason, for today's reason, so hopefully more of us can participate and it's easier to do so. And number two is that we are going to go fabric shopping together, which is going to be really exciting, and ultimately we're doing both of these things because today we're going to be doing some sewing for a good cause. We're going to be sewing dresses for Project Dress a Girl. Now before we really dive in, I want to take a moment and say thank you so much for watching this video. If you can contribute and help, that would be amazing. If not, please do not worry at all. All of us have lives, more pressing matters, something with a family, something with yourself. Take care of yourself first and then help others. So if you can help, again, that's amazing. If not, please do not worry. Still enjoy this video and maybe spread a good word, or maybe you will be inspired to help sometime down the road. So let me get my shoes on. We're gonna go to the fabric shop, and on the way there, I'm gonna tell you all about this project. Now it just so happens that about once a year I do a project where I sew for charity and those in need, and usually it is not necessarily a planned activity or something that I plan for. It just depends on who reaches out and what is the need in the community. And this year I had this super enthusiastic lady, Mari, from Mari Sews, and by the way, she also has a YouTube channel which is really fun and very enthusiastic, and she is also going to be your main person of contact for this whole entire project. So I will leave all necessary information in the info box below. So she reached out with a project that is very dear and near to her heart, which is Project Dress a Girl Around the World. We connected over a Zoom call, and that's how this video came about. So the task in front of us is pretty straightforward, right? To sew a dress or dresses and to donate them. Now I will leave a full mission statement of the organization in the info box below as well, so that way you can read upon that, and I will leave their website there as well. However, where do we start? And we start with fabric. Because these dresses go all around the world, there are some things that the organizers are asking to do and not to do. So first of all, cotton is the preferred choice for these dresses. Now you gotta make sure that it's not see-through, because these are going to be for girls all ages, so we want to make sure that they're not embarrassed by wearing them. Now another thing is, because these dresses go all around the world, they ask not to include fabric with cartoons, English words, or fabric that is very particular to national holidays, for example here in United States. Now today I'm on the mission to sew a few dresses for the girls that are the same age as my daughter, which is about 3 years, and I know that she absolutely loves animals, so I'm thinking about some really fun print with animals, maybe some plants, maybe something else, but something that would really cheer up a 3-year-old. Alright, and I think we have a winner, and because this mission is asking to make dresses without zippers, without buttons, without Velcro, fabric is basically all we need for this, and I got mine. So let's head towards the exit and let's head home, so that way we can get this started. Alright, we got our fabric, so now let's talk about the pattern. Now the pattern, the free sewing pattern, and of course all of the links and all of the details, all of the contact information, everything about this project is going to be linked in the info box below, so that way you can find all of that information easily. Now the free sewing pattern that I made particularly for this purpose comes in one size only. Now I did use the armhole template that was provided on the website, so that way I know for sure that this dress adheres to the standards that this mission is looking for. Now this pattern only has 4 sheets of paper, so you don't have to worry about printing a ton and putting a ton together, because I know a lot of us really don't like putting PDF patterns together, which I understand, but this one is quick and easy and very simple. So let me show you how it comes together, how to add any necessary things that we need to add to it, and then we will roll with actually putting the dresses together. Now these are the pattern sheets, 2 for the front and 2 for the back as well. You will also need scissors and a stick of glue. Now this is how they will come together at the triangles lining at the center back and side seams as well. Go ahead and cut off one of the margins and apply glue to the other one, so that way we can actually place the pattern together. There we go, like so. You're going to repeat exactly the same steps for the front pattern piece as well. Now the pocket piece that you see on one of the sheets is optional, so if you want your dress to be with pockets, go ahead and trace that piece on the new sheet of paper. Now we need to cut these triangles on the bottom of both sheets, on the back pattern piece and front pattern piece. Go ahead and cut them up like this, leaving enough space on the edges, and then we're going to line them up as well in order to complete our pattern pieces for the front and the back. There we go. You're going to repeat exactly the same steps for the front pattern piece as well. And once that is done, it is going to look like this. Now, as you already know, everything that I draft on my channel, I draft initially without seam allowances included on the pattern, and there's a reason for it. However, this time, since I'm actually going to be making a batch of these dresses, it is smarter this time to actually add seam allowances on the pattern, so that way I can cut all of the dresses at once. Now here you see me add 3/8 of an inch seam allowance to the shoulder seam. However, I'm not adding any seam allowances to the front neckline and to the front armhole as well. You will also see me right over here add 3/8 of an inch seam allowance to the side seam. And we will also need to add 3/8 of an inch seam allowance to the bottom of the dress as well. You are going to do exactly the same steps for the back pattern piece as well, and we're also not going to add any seam allowance to the keyhole opening in the back as well. If you want to sew the pockets for the dress, you will need to add 1/2 an inch to the top of the pocket for folding it over, and then 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on the edges of the pocket. A fabric piece that is 44 inches wide and 30 inches long will make one dress. I have already cut my fabric right over here, so let's take a look. This is the front pattern piece cut on the fold like the pattern says. This is the back pattern piece cut on the fold as well, and here you see the keyhole opening. Next we have 2 ruffles. They're 36 inches long and 5 inches wide, so 2 ruffles, and then we have some bias tape, total 81 inches long and 1 inch wide, and of course 2 pocket pieces are optional as well. Now, since I have separate tutorials for almost all of the techniques that we're going to be using in this dress, today I'm going to give you a simple outline of basic steps that we need to in order to make it, and anything additional will be listed in the info box below, so that way if you need to refresh your memory, you can go ahead and take a look right over there. So let's get started. We're going to get started with the back pattern piece, and grab a small 9 inches long bias tape, and we're going to take care of the keyhole opening. Now, I do have a detailed tutorial on how to do exactly this technique. However, I wanted to demonstrate this to you because we're going to repeating it time and time again for the neckline and for the armholes as well. So with the wrong side up, so with the wrong side facing us, we're going to place the bias tape on that wrong side, and we're going to pin it right into that crease of a bias tape, and then we're going to stitch it. So here you see I'm stitching it right in the crease of that bias tape. Go slow and steady. You want to make sure that you catch all of the edges and you don't have any of the puckers, because that is essential for a good look and good fit of the dress. Now, once that is done, it will look like so. Now let's go ahead and take scissors and we will trim the seam allowances. Once the seam allowances are trimmed, you're actually going to take the bias tape and you're going to fold it over to the right side of the fabric. And the next step for us will be to stitch right on the edge of that bias tape, completing our keyhole opening. Now you see, when it's all done, it doesn't really lay flat enough, and here's a little trick that I do. Right over here on the wrong side of the fabric, you're going to stitch right on this little corner like that. And once that is done, when you open it up and when you look on the right side of the fabric, it will look beautiful like this. Next, we're going to go ahead and sew the shoulder seams. Straight stitch first at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and after that I'm going to finish the seams with a serger. Now in this particular case, I'm going to serge both of the seams together, so I'm not going to press seams open because these dresses are actually going to go through a lot of wear and tear, and the girls who will receive these dresses unfortunately don't have any opportunity to let the dresses out at the seams or at the hem in case of growth. So really you have to make sure that these dresses are really sturdy, plus you don't have to worry about leaving large seam allowance so that way you can let it out, because that's just not an option. Once shoulder seams have been sewn and the edges of the seam have been treated with a serger or a zigzag stitch, let's go ahead and finish the armholes. You're going to finish the armholes in exactly the same way as you did for the keyhole, starting at the wrong side of the fabric, applying the bias tape. Once the armholes are finished with the bias tape, let's go ahead and sew the side seams. You will sew the side seams exactly the same way as we did the shoulder seams. First a straight stitch and then zigzag or a serged edge. Now after that, you might see that the bottom of the armhole puckers a little bit because there's just a lot of bulk due to the bias tape. Now to prevent any puckering and to make sure that everything is really nice and sturdy, go ahead and brush the seam allowance to one side, and then you will stitch that seam allowance down about 3/4 of an inch down from the underarm section and parallel to the side seam, like so. Once the side seams are done, let's go ahead and do the neckline. The neckline will be done in exactly the same way as the armholes and the keyhole opening in the back. Now I have a full tutorial on how to do this particular neckline with the ties, so I will leave it for you guys in the info box below. Alrighty, now that the beautiful neckline is done, the last thing that we have left to do is to take care of the bottom. And here we need to take our ruffles. We have two pieces for the ruffles, one for the front and one for the back. Our first step would be to sew the ruffles at the short ends exactly the same way as we did the shoulder seams and the side seams. After that, I usually go ahead and hem the ruffle right away. And here, please be sure which side you're actually hemming, especially if you have a directional print just like I do. I will hem my ruffle with a double fold hem. The next step for us would be to actually create the ruffle. In order to do that, we need to gather the fabric. So go ahead and use the longest straight stitch available on your sewing machine, and then 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric, go ahead and put that straight stitch. Make sure that you don't back stitch. Once that is done, pull one of the threads in order to gather the fabric like so. You need to make sure that you gather the fabric of the same length so that way it would fit the bottom of your dress. Once you have the desired ruffle gathered, let's go ahead and pin it in place, matching at the side seams of the ruffle and the side seams of the dress. We're going to sew it together to the dress in exactly the same way as we did the shoulder seams and the side seams. Straight stitch first, and then you're going to finish it up with a serger or a zigzag stitch. Now, if you want to add the pockets to your dress, then stay tuned. The tutorial for the pockets is coming your way from Mari Sews. So definitely that is an option as well. But of course, pockets are really easy. So if you have done pockets before, it will be no problem for you at all. And that's it, our beautiful dress is done. Now let's go ahead and tidy up all of the loose threads, make sure that everything is nice and tidy, give it a really good press. And then we also need a label. We need a Dress a Girl Around the World label, so that way these dresses can be accepted into donations and charity. So please make sure that you get your labels. I will leave the information in the info box below. And I also got 5 yards of this fabric, and by my calculations I'll be able to get out of it either 6 or 7 dresses. So I have a full long weekend of work ahead of me, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to contribute and participate, all of the information will be in the info box below. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.